Hi, folks, with Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. Please listen to this presentation as you would a radio broadcast. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the issue of two-tier justice, but this time not police arresting people, not arresting, or what cases prosecutors decide to go chasing after, but rather the activities and the behaviours in court and the behaviours of judges in court in particular here. Now, there was a recent Harvey Weinstein in the United States. I think it's like an appeal case for a rape charge, but there's a woman was being cross-examined in court. So she's in the witness box. She's sworn into the witness box, and she's being cross-examined in court. And the issue is, this is the woman who's claiming she's been raped. And so the question came, as I understand it, at least, the question was, what sort of clothes were you wearing when you came to Mr. Weinstein's apartment? And later on, you claim you're undressed, but did you undress yourself, or did he undress you, or was there some you doing a bit, him doing it? So it was that the question about that. Now, the woman didn't really want to answer the question. Some of her answers have been quite inconsistent, as far as I can determine, at least. Did he invite you there, or did you just drop by to his apartment? Those sort of questions. The woman obviously didn't want to answer the questions, and you have to accept my version, and that is he's guilty and he did it. Stop trawling through the details and the facts. I don't like it. And if you keep on asking questions, I'll cry and run out of the courtroom. So she did. She started to scream and cry, and then just ran out of the witness box and ran out of the courtroom and ran into the women's toilet, women's bathroom. Now, I wouldn't tolerate that if I was a judge, but nonetheless, the behaviour of the judges, as best I can determine, was forbearance in the extreme. It's all there now. Oh, you poor little thing! Did that naughty lawyer upset you? Naughty, naughty, naughty! It was more that sort of approach, and there was no warning of, you do that again, you'll be held in contempt and you'll be fined. Instead, that was just viewed as acceptable behaviour. Oh, she's a girl, of course she's allowed to behave that way. Well, what would you do if a man behaved that way? I'd lock the motherfucker up. I won't take Defiance in my court. Oh, I want her. I'm going to put that motherfucker in handcuffs and into this. So very different. So two-tier sort of justice. I've been in court hearings where when the cross-examinations have got uncomfortable, the woman has just started crying and just gets up, and the same format. She just runs into the women's, just up out of the witness box, out of the courtroom door, and into the women's. And this has been tolerated, not only tolerated, but the judges almost fairly grovel to the woman. Well, I'm so sorry. I should have stopped that naughty lawyer from asking you questions you didn't want to answer. It's a fucking court of law, for fuck's sake. Now, the questions that the woman in the case that I saw there was being asked were completely reasonable. She's made allegations which are fanciful, to say the least, and she's getting cross-examined, and she's been caught out in a lie a few times, and her whole argument is crumbling. Her whole web of allegations is crumbling. She can see that, so she, well, how do I get out of this? If ever I get into trouble out in the real world, or I just start crying and run into the girl's toilet, and I get away with it. So I'll try that here. And of course, she does get away with it. She's not reprimanded. There's no contempt of court. Now, I saw a couple of years earlier, I saw a guy who was getting, in my view, ridiculous types of questioning. And that he would have tolerated this for as long as he did was probably more the thing. And he said something to the judge like, are you going to stop this ridiculous questioning? The judge just stared at him impassively. He said, look, this is nonsense. And he got up and walked out of the court. Instantly, sort of every alarm and bell went off. Gorillas were summoned from everywhere, big heavy dudes. And the guy was, the judge was not prepared to take any defiance at all. You will not walk out of the witness box when you're sworn in. The rules are strictly forbidden. And he was in handcuffs, and they're like down the bottom of the courthouse. There are prisons or jails, and he was in the jail. And he's in contempt. He's going to pay a fine. He has to publicly apologize and this and that, the next thing, and so very, very roughly handled. Not we're not going to put up with anything from you. You dare defy the court, and you'll find out what happens. But when the woman does, now this is something that I noticed in the workplace, that one of the first employee evaluation type interview, whatever you want to call them, that I was involved in was my boss was doing an employee evaluation on this female employee who was very devious. Even as a young man, I sort of spotted just how devious she was, and was always avoiding responsibility and accusing other people. Anyway, she was lazy, and so she wasn't getting a very good evaluation, and she was being told, well, you don't do this, you should do that, da 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 da. And clearly she wasn't liking it. Any sort of criticism she took as a dagger to the heart almost. And she just gets up, just suddenly gets up, instantly turns on the waterworks, starts crying, and she runs off and runs into the women's toilet. Exactly the same scenario and format and structure to the once they're being held accountable, and so when they just run off to the toilet crying. And now, when she did this in the workplace, she ran off and was very theatrical, making as much noise and create as much drama as she could. All the other women that work there, they all run and follow her into the toilet. So suddenly, not only has she escaped accountability, but she's now got her entire audience of other women who then she can say, "What is that bastard? What is that?" So this is very much part of the culture, as in social behavioural culture, that women can use this opt out of responsibility, opt out of accountability card, and they can play it anywhere, whether it be the workplace, obviously in domestic relationships, but also even in a courtroom where it should not be acceptable, but it is. And this is the type of, and I've seen this happen in every imaginable scenario. Again, whether it be in workplace or even trying to, get out a woman who gets a traffic fine, say, and she'll start screaming and crying and try and get out of that through from the police, the cops. And it's a standard go-to. Now, why do so many women use this as a standard go-to? How has our society structured itself? That not only encourages this behaviour, but where pretty much every woman thinks it's permissible, and that it will work in most, 9 times out of 10, it will work. They'll be able to get out of it. And now coming back to this evaluation where the woman runs off screaming, the guy, my boss, I haven't said a word in this thing, I'm just sort of watching, but the guy says, I think I might have to tone it down a bit. That's the evaluation. So finally she's coaxed back in. Oh, I'm still upset because you naughty bad man. And so the guy then apologizes to, oh, I'm sorry, maybe I was a bit tough, and really you're a really good girl, that just a couple of things, why don't we take this out? Look, we'll cross this bit out. Why don't you just sort of try a little bit harder and do your best? And by now I can see the look, as a young guy, I can see the look of victory on her face here. Gee, I won. I didn't think I'd win that easily, but I have. So the guy, my boss, went down like a sack of shit, and effectively took out all the negative stuff he was saying about an evaluation. And she walks off with her head in the air, celebrating privately, celebrating a great victory. But it was the same in the court. The judge was apologizing to the woman. Gets up and runs out just because she's been cornered in the cross-examination, and she realizes a whole bullshit story is falling to pieces. So she just cries and runs out of the court. The judge doesn't do anything. There's no punishment. There's nothing. And then when she comes back in, the judge apologizes to her. Oh, fuck. How have we got to this? How have we achieve? Like how do we structure our society where this is permissible and acceptable and encouraged, and where it gets results? It's probably come some direction. I remember going to friends' places like when I was a kid. They say they got a younger sister or something, and the younger sister wants to join in, and the my buddy says, "No, get lost. I'm here playing with Billy Bob or something." So she just instantly starts crying and runs to Daddy. "Oh, Daddy, Billy Bob was mean to me." And then the daddy, "Oh, well, I'll have a word to Billy Bob." "No, don't you upset her again, Billy Bob. Naughty Billy Bob." And she's there standing in the background, still pretending to cry, watching with a big victory grin on her face. And why is it that, and that's like an 8-year-old girl. Why is it that women, when they get to age 30, 40, 50, still behave the same way? You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.